Voices from the Mausoleum is brought to you by the You Run Podcast Network and yourunpodcast.com.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to take 1748 of this episode. I'm by myself this week simply because I got a last minute move-in date. That's a lot sooner than I thought it was going to be. I'm not prepared. I did not have time to add a full time episode to schedule this week with everything else that we already had on the books. So this week I'm going to talk what's this series called? Found Footage Fridays. 5 found footage films. Alliteration is so fun that that I would recommend. Some of these are not going to be a surprise. If you've been watching the show the 2 years or so that it's almost been on, a lot of these are not going to be a surprise. That's okay though, because we just passed 900 subs. We get new viewers all the time. So I thought it'd be fun to revisit 5 found footage films that I would recommend. And all of these, I'm pretty confident, maybe minus one, you'll be able to find a review for in the Found Footage Fridays playlist if you're interested in hearing my thoughts on it more. So the first one's going to be Savage Land. I don't even remember at this point how I found out about Savage Land, but Tom and I did a review on this one, went in completely blind, had no idea what it was about. And it's a mockumentary style found footage film that is told in basically through photographs instead of video footage. And it's insanely smart filmmaking. The characters are believable. The political climate is scary and still very realistic as far as because this came out in like 2018. So even by now, it's still very relevant, unfortunately. But it was such a great story. There are moments of this that are scary and creepy. There are parts of this that will upset you and make you angry. There's parts that will break your heart. And it was just one of those found footage movies where after it had gone off, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Like I literally had to sit with it and find something happy to watch after so I could go to bed. Savage Land is typically streaming on Tubi. I don't know 100% if it still is right this second, but if it is only available to rent, I can't imagine if you love found footage, especially if you appreciate mockumentary like I do, that you will regret spending the money. It's very, very well done. My second recommendation is going to be The Taking of Deborah Logan. So in addition to found footage, one of my other favorite subgenres of horror is possession films. So when we come across found footage possession films, I'm like, oh yes, super in. They're scary to me. And The Taking of Deborah Logan is an emotional story about a woman who is supposedly, she's an elderly lady. She's supposedly going through, is it dementia? It's either dementia or I can't remember 100%, but they quickly realize that there's more going on than just an ailment because she's older. And it's very good. There's some really creepy scenes in this. There's some things you don't expect. There's one scene in particular that's always like the scene when people talk about this movie where you're like, oh shit, and you weren't ready because you're not, promise. It's a great story about possession. As far as the kind of basic themes are pretty, I would say pretty cliche, but I think that the acting, the performances, the atmosphere all make up for that to make it a truly unique experience. So if you've not seen The Taking of Deborah Logan, it's phenomenal. It's also usually streaming. I'm not 100% sure where right now, but it's another one that'd be more than worth the rental price if you wanted to pay to watch it. It's super, super good. My third movie is going to be Horror in the High Desert 2, Minerva. So Steve and I got screeners to watch Firewatch, which is the third one that's not out yet. We did a review on that, and then we just got to interview Marco Pera, who plays Oscar, the main character in 3, but he does make an appearance in 2, Minerva. And I am just a huge fan of this franchise. I think what Dutch is doing is phenomenal for a found footage franchise. It's not easy to keep people invested this long when it's found footage, mockumentary style. Again, it's a mockumentary style film. Minerva was so scary. It's the scariest one of the 3, I think, but it's also, I just really, really loved it. It added a lot to the original story. There's more going on in this one. It's slightly more busy than the first one, which I really loved. But people who are a part of the indie community know about Minerva, but I think people who stick to mainstream stuff, they don't know about Horror in the High Desert. So it's always on my recommends list for found footage movies. Any of them. And 3 hopefully will be out very soon for you guys to enjoy. In the meantime, if you have not watched our interview with Marco Pera, please, 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 please go watch it. he was amazing to have on, and super fun guy. And he is going to make you feel all of the things when you get to watch Firewatch. Yeah, so my fourth movie is going to be Gonjiam Haunted Asylum, which is another one we've covered on the show before. But I showed this to my partner, I don't know, maybe last summer, and was amazed, at just how scary it still was. Like, I knew everything that was going to happen, and it was super scary. Like, if you like stuff like Grave Encounters, ghost hunting shows, content creating, horror, I think this is going to be in your wheelhouse, because that's what it's about. It's about this YouTube channel who gets into this famously haunted asylum. And they've got all this setup stuff to do to break this record. They're trying to get all these views, all these things. Things go awry, as is normally the case, right? And it's just very good. It's very scary. And what's really impressive to me, and I think I talk about this every time this movie comes up. But the other thing that's really cool about this is the asylum that this is based off of. The filmmakers tried to get access to film inside of it, and the owner was like, "Hell no! If you make a scary movie about this, I'll never be able to sell it." And so they were like, "Okay, fine." So they filmed the entire thing in a school, but they got the blueprints for the asylum, so they were able to recreate hallways, rooms, and it's really cool when you think about it. The owner actually took them to court when the film got released, and the judge was like, they can release their film, stop it, basically. Like, I don't care about your sale. Like, they're within their rights. They didn't film on the site, they followed your whatever. Anyway, so that's pretty cool to think that they were able to take a school and make it look like the inside of that. They did a great job. So Gonjiam Haunted Asylum, it's very scary. It's very atmospheric. I highly recommend it if you like those types of films, as far as, the content creating stuff. It's very good. And my last one is, and this is not because of any specific order. These are not ones that are necessarily on my top list. Most of them are, I think, but this one is just one that I feel like enough people have not seen, and that's going to be Open Water 3 Cage Dive, Found Footage and Sharks. I really don't know that I need to say anything else, right? So Tom and I covered this, I think, last summer, because, summer, sharks, right? If you go to watch this, you can skip the first 40 minutes. Once they get on the boat, that's when it starts getting good. But for this to be a third movie in a franchise, and to be to decide to do, the style of found footage, I was blown away with how great this was. The shots of the sharks in this are so good. They look so realistic. There are some things in here that are very scary, like very scary. It's got some survival stuff in it too. Obviously, they're stranded, right? That's the whole premise behind Open Water. But to take a shark movie, make it found footage, and it not be stupid or cheesy or silly looking, color me impressed. I would sign up for any other like shark found footage movie. And yeah, that's going to be my recommends for this week. If you haven't seen any of these, most of them are streaming. Highly recommend checking them out. Next week, Steve will be back with either a top list for himself or some recommends for you. And then hopefully after that, things will be more settled. I'll get into a groove and I can get back to normal filming. I'm just trying to I still had stuff scheduled from before I knew I was moving, and it's just a lot to juggle. So appreciate the patience during this time. Anyway, that's all I had for this episode. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Enjoy your week, and we will see you in the next one.